So we are live. As soon as the mayor connects in, we can start.
Where's Brett?
And Brett.
Good morning or good afternoon, Christine. Are you there?
I am here, Mr. Mayor. Everyone is here. We are ready to go.
Oh, ready to go. Great. Let's call the special meeting order of February 3rd, 2021. Councilmember Spencer, you did the pledge at the last meeting, correct?
Yes, I did.
All right, so then that would go move us on down to Councilmember Resendez. Will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, sir. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. We'll move to roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Velasquez,
Here.
Councilmember Perez,
Here.
Vice Mayor Resendez,
Present.
Councilmember Spencer,
Present.
Councilmember Burns,
Here.
City Manager Miller,
Here.
City Attorney Epperson. I believe he did say he had a conflict for this evening. Interim Police Chief Reynoso.
Here.
Thank you. The agenda for the City of Hollister City Council special meeting of February 3rd, 2021 was posted on the bulletin board on January 22nd, 2021 at 10:45 a.m. per Government Code Section 54956. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to now move to item A1 to discuss the rules, code of ethics, conduct, and so on. I think, Mr. Burns, you brought this item up, and I think we all appreciate that. We need to definitely have an update on what we're doing here at the city. I think maybe one of the best ideas we could do to get started is first start through listening to what the city clerk, some of their or her ideas are, what the issues are from the city manager's point of view. And then maybe each of us can go through and kind of point out some of the things that what we're thinking about or what we're concerned about, and then go through some of the items that were presented and see how we can kind of push those or pull those all back together and give something back to the city clerk to go back and work on with the guidance of the city attorney. Does that sound all right with all of you? Okay.
Sounds good.
So why don't we go and start there, City Clerk? If you can kind of give us some of your perspective on this, some of your ideas, and then we can move on to the city manager and then through the city council members and go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and honorable council members. Presented on this item are all the different protocols, norms, code of ethics, Hollister Municipal Code, policies, rules and procedures, and Rosenberg's Rules of Orders. They don't completely conflict, but there are many aspects that conflict. For example, it's not clear in our municipal code that if that Monday falls on a holiday, that the city meeting will fall on the next Tuesday after the holiday. I can go into more detail on some of the inconsistencies I found. But my suggestion would be to have the Hollister Municipal Code be our only source and not have all of these different documents that we then have to check and double check. I think it would be easier, less confusing for everyone if we just had the Hollister Municipal Code that we're working from and not having to look at the Hollister Municipal Code, check the policy, rules, and procedures, and then see if we're in compliance with Rosenberg's, and then check to see if we're following the council norms and the protocols. And that's just my suggestion. I can go over just a few of the things. I haven't gone over every single thing, but some of the things that I have found is, again, not being clear on if that Monday falls on a holiday, because we meet the first and third Mondays of the month, and our Muni Code states that, but doesn't state what happens if that Monday is a holiday. At the council meeting, it's on Hollister Municipal Code section 2.04.020, where it states at the council meeting that at the first regular meeting in January, we will choose our mayor pro tempore, and our first meeting in January has been canceled. I would love to have that change to be at the council meeting where the new council members receive their oaths. And then we could just set the tone for the whole year. We could do that in December or whenever that date falls and not have to wait until January. Section 2.04.040, I would like to have the timeline on that be according to the set deadline set by the city clerk. And I believe currently the municipal code reads, and I know I have the, excuse me, forgive me just one second. That's 2.04. Currently, it reads, at least 120 hours preceding the date and time of the city council meeting at which the same are to be submitted. It doesn't make any sense. Or does it say 72 hours preceding the date and time of a city council meeting? Oh, I'm sorry. The part that I'm talking about is that staff reports need to be submitted to the city clerk's office no later than 5 p.m. at least 120 hours preceding the date and time of the city council meeting. We have it currently set the second Thursday before the meeting at noon, and that gives enough time for approvers and reviewers to go through the document to make sure that what we're presenting to council is clear. In section 2.04.090, that's where we have our order of business stated. In the current Hollister Municipal Code, we don't even have public hearings. We don't have consent items. There are things on our current agenda that are not listed here, so I'd like to get that updated. It doesn't have the successor agency on there. It doesn't have the housing, the successor agency is the housing agency. We don't have any of that. So I would like to get that updated and changed. There are more, but in one of the, in the Hollister Municipal Code, I believe it reads, and I can't tell you what section it is, or maybe it's in the rules and procedures itself, where one of them says that if a council member does not remain silent, that is considered a yes vote. And I think, or it's considered a no vote. But in the Rosenberg's Rules of Order, which we've stated that we adopt, it says a silent vote is a no vote. So there are things that I think if we're just working off of, we can still keep Rosenberg's Rules of Orders, but just put that in our Hollister Municipal Code and make sure that what it states is consistent with what's in the rest of that code. and I could try and spend more time going through this a little bit more thoroughly, but these are just things right off the top of my head that I can point out to you.
That's, I think that's good information. I think you can help us as we obviously meet again to lay out some of those different areas. And that's a interesting part, information as far as the Rosenberg compared to the Roberts rule, keeping quiet. Maybe that's something we could kind of define a little more as saying maybe each council member should express their vote yes or no, so there's no confusion for the public. You know, I think I would guess most of us would agree with that, just so we're clear. Because, and I can tell you guys, sometimes for me, especially through Zoom now, I can't hear everything. It's kind of tough to hear everything. I did like the idea, or what you guys learned at the retreat or the conference you guys were at, as far as the roll call for each item, at least during the Zoom times, so we're clear for the public on that. But I think, again, Christine, I think you have a lot of pieces that clearly need to be fixed, and laying that out and getting it back to all of us so we can kind of clear those up. I think very helpful.
Thank you.
City manager?
Yeah, my issue would be is that, as the city clerk brought up, is just when you have these inconsistencies or different rules, it causes conflicts. So we would love here at the city to have less conflicts. So my request would be to go through and improve our municipal code, and wherever there's an exception to Rosenberg's rules, or whatever document we want to follow, to at least state those exceptions.
Or change the code.
Or change the code. Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Burns. Yeah, absolutely. You're next, because this was your baby here, and we definitely want to hear your ideas and go from there.
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't mean to jump in front, but I was just wondering if it may make sense to create an ad hoc committee to work with city staff, in this case, specifically the city clerk and the city manager, and bring a compilation of work back for council's review and consideration.
I think that might be a good idea. I think let's hear all the ideas today, and maybe this is something we could work together on as a council. If we kind of all agree on most of the major issues, then I think we can probably do this as a council. If we're seeing that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, I agree with you that we're going to need to take more time to go through these. So let's hear from everybody, and we'll go through. If you don't mind, we could start with you if you're ready.
No, I'm prepared, and I apologize to the other council members for jumping to the front, but I'm prepared and willing to do so. So, as I think all council members know, I have a serious concern about conduct and ethics, and from my perspective, I went and I pilfered from the city of Belmont, and so if you were to look at pages 22, I believe it is.
22 on which one, sir?
On the staff report, or the agenda report, page 22 at the bottom right corner of the paper, or it's also recognized as document A, 1D. And so what the topic is, it's code of ethics and conduct. And so just for clarity, this in essence is a code of conduct and ethics that I located for the city of Belmont. The city of Belmont is also a general law city. And so I pretty much took, and where it said the city of Belmont, I changed the city of Belmont with the city of Hollister. And I changed the one word I changed consistently through the document that is attached is the word a citizen, and I transposed, or I changed citizen to resident, and it just was a word that fit better with me. I'm certainly more than happy to accept any friendly amendments to any of this. I think this is of true value, and certainly I think it warrants a close review to make sure it covers everything. But in reviewing this particular document, what I came up with was the fact that there were some other documents in pre-existence that I felt could be eliminated. And so as I rummage through this, I personally think that we could eliminate the, bear with me for just a second, please.
That's okay. Lots of time.
As I'm looking for the specific documents here, I felt we could probably pull out a couple of them that are pre-exist. And so,
Burns, I believe one of them was the city council protocol final, the city council normal final, and the city council code of ethics final.
right, those are precisely those, because I think they're, and to some degree or another, they duplicate one another. And they're contained in the ordinance that I proposed that's before you that I've been speaking about. And so having said that, but I still think there may be some things in those documents that I would recommend we pull out and dismiss to make sure that there's not some good information in there that we would benefit from adding to an ordinance. And I support 100% the city clerk's idea that the city municipal code be the only source for the for whatever it is we're going to put there, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, and it becomes codified, and I think there's value to that. And also it becomes a one-spot destination point for all of the information, and it's readily available to members of our community or those who would want to see what our standards are. And I think there's a clear value to that. And so I guess, again, just in wrapping up, I would recommend that we remove item 1B, which is pages 18 and 19 on the lower right-hand corner. And I would recommend, and that's known as the city council norms. And then I'd recommend we remove the item 1C, which are pages 20 and 21, which are the City of Hollister Code of Ethics and Values. And then I find value in the others, but I think it would be helpful to put it all in one area. There's clearly information in this packet that appears to already be in the City of Hollister Municipal Code. And I think it would be valuable to try and create a place for all of this information so that people wouldn't have to necessarily vigorously search to find it. And so those are some of my preliminary thoughts, Mayor.
Perfect. I agree with those thoughts. I think we do kind of repeat ourselves over and over on some of these different documents, and they're not really clear. Some are a little different than the next, so that causes some of the confusion city manager was talking about.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just
Go ahead.
we're eliminating a document doesn't mean we can't take some of those aspects of that document and incorporate them into our final.
No, absolutely. I agree 100% with that. I don't want to lose anything of value. I just would like to weed out things that might be duplicative in nature.
Correct. Councilmember Spencer, any ideas you have? Things you'd like to see or changes?
Councilman Burns pretty well said what I wanted. So I'm good with what's going on right now.
Okay, perfect. Vice Mayor Resendez, do you have any ideas or things you wanted to see changed or added?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, first and foremost, I think that, yeah, it's redundant. I read all of them. They're conflicting. It feels like just over the years, they might've been a little bit neglected and we just kept adding to it, and it's just not real consistent. So I'm definitely for visiting it and making sure that it's a little bit more clear and concise. I believe that Councilmember Burns pointed out two of the documents that I thought that we definitely should be looking at removing because they just go without saying for the most part. I'd be hesitant to do that today, though. I would really like to see for us to come together in some type of forum, I don't know if it necessarily has to be an ad hoc. I think that we can do this and give, especially if the attorney's there and he's available to give us comments and feedback, to give some direction to staff, and then have them bring back a document for us to finally adopt it, just like we would with anything else. So I think this is totally doable. Yeah, it just seems like it's a little bit repetitive, it's inconsistent, and yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to working on it. Those are my comments at this time, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Perez, your ideas?
I agree. I don't want to say the same thing over and over again. I think where everyone's kind of heading is a great direction. My only addition would be, or thought that I'd like to interject with everybody, is these were made up during a time of when there was no Zoom meetings. This was pretty much made up when everyone usually showed up unless they were sick. I think they're a little outdated in that way. So like Vice Mayor Resendez said the other night, and actually real quick, I just wanted to apologize. I wasn't calling him, I wasn't calling you Vice Mayor Resendez the other night, and I wanted to apologize and correct myself. But as he was saying about the ethics training and those other trainings for the cities of California, or Cal cities, they were talking a lot more of the technological part of this, Zoom meetings. I feel that one of the statements that really stood out to me was talking about how we as elected officials should be transparent, honest, and visible. With that being said, most of the meetings that all the meetings that I go to, all the attendees that are on the dais are all on live feed, not just with a picture or a blank spot. And I think that's just my opinion. I would like to see everybody be live. I think it's not just for me, I think it's for the public to be able to see who we are since they elected us. Everything else is pretty much the same as far as trying to figure out the discrepancies and the redundancies in all of these. That's it.
Perfect, thank you. I'll add a few things that I'm seeing that I think we need to address. I do want to address the live feed part first, because I think in a perfect world, we can all be there. I know when I first started doing these Zooms, I tried to be live all the time. And what I found happening, because my kids are online at the same time doing homework and doing different things, my feed kept dropping on me. So I learned to shut the video off. Somebody pointed, if I took the video off, it would stop dropping. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. I didn't have any more drops since that point, because it sent me into a scramble in a meeting where I'm dropped off and I can't get back online, and people are wondering what happened to the person. So when you got two kids at home doing homework live, it makes it kind of crazy in this world. So we actually recently changed to another internet provider. We keep checking the speeds, but we're not having much more success. So that is part of the problem, and it's an issue hopefully we'll clarify soon. I agree with the comments made on some of the different documents we currently have. They are repetitive. And as the city clerk pointed out, though, it doesn't mean we completely eliminate. We just kind of pick out the things we think are useful, that we can all agree with, and work from there on even some of these other documents. Some of the things I really would like to see added on, though, is I think we need to have some clarification as far as how, and I saw it on one of the documents talking about, and Mr. Burns, this might have been on the one you presented, one of the ones talking about how we should not be having outside meetings. Information provided to us should be provided in a public setting so that the public is hearing it as we're hearing it. I do think it's been a major problem as far as lobbyists, not that anybody's trying to break the law or anything, but to have separate meetings and convincing council members to go along with their project. By the time we get to a city council meeting, those that didn't have the meetings with lobbyists are surprised by some of the information being presented. And I don't think it's fair to the public. And I think it's also important that we recognize that sometimes lobbyists use third parties to do the work for them. And I think if we're going to clarify and be transparent to the public, we really need to find a way to make sure that this is all open and happening during our meetings in the public. So no one's getting any privileged information before or later. We're doing this as a council, as a city together, and we're not being lobbied separately, again, by either the lobbyists themselves or a third party that they send to that know us personally in a better way. I think it's time we make that change. I think it'd be helpful for our community. The other major issue I've seen happening at our city and other cities way too often is the use of text messaging or emails back and forth during the meeting. That absolutely should not be happening, because those become public documents, and by law, anything that's happening during a meeting is public information. And I'm sure some of those are not meant to be anything bad, but the perception from the public is something's going on that they don't know about, and votes are being traded or so on and so on. And again, I don't think that is what's happening, but I think it's for the sake of being more professional, being more transparent, that we need to have a rule in place that just does not allow for that to happen any longer, so we can eliminate those issues. I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the vice mayor position, that should just be set in a rotation, so politics are completely taken out of it. It should never be in a situation where three people decide that they know better. It's only fair to have that rotation. We have a rotation going now. I do want to see us have something put that in place so we know each year what's happening. And not only does it help actually at that point, but it helps really truly in committee selections, because committee selections, there's some committees that I do feel it's very, very important for a vice mayor to be involved in, because some are major issues. Good example is COG, for an example. The dollar amounts being talked about out there are in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and the more information the vice mayor knows, the better. So I think that's something I'd really want to see if we can agree upon. The other issues are things that are in some of these documents. Professionalism, as I said earlier, is really key to the tone of the entire meeting for us and the public. Waiting to be recognized or lifting your hand or anything to be recognized before speaking really does help us. We might sometimes not understand that, but the public is seeing and watching us. And when we interrupt each other, what happens is the public starts to feel they can interrupt us also. And it leads to some of the chaos that we had in the previous years. And I don't think any of us want to see this happen again. And again, thank you, Mr. Burns, for bringing these things up, because it's time that we do address it. We do, as a council, also need to recognize that there are times that the public will come out and attack council members. And I do not think that is something that we should tolerate or encourage. And it's something that we as a council have to decide if we're going to allow that to be stopped when it does happen. In the past, there were outbursts and I could not stop them because different reasons, but I think we have to agree that if a resident comes up and starts attacking council member so-and-so, that it should be stopped immediately, and they should just be recognizing or addressing the entire council as one and not individuals, because it almost became a way for, I guess you would call it electioneering. And a lot of mudslinging started happening in that way. And I don't think that should ever happen again. No matter how we feel about each other, we have to be professional. I don't think we should ever allow that to happen. Now, that does not mean we shouldn't allow residents to express their anger at the city for different reasons. I get that part. And I've always said they should always be able to come in and say how disappointed they are with an action the city took. That's okay. But they should never be able to come back and say, council member this or council member this one, you are this, this, and this. We should be able to stop it and be unified in agreeing to not allow that so it doesn't happen. On the same token, that goes for all of us not being able, or we should never be attacking or questioning each other on the dais. We should never really be doing it in public. We can question each other's votes, of course. That's part of politics, but we should never, especially in front of the public, having those arguments at the dais. We respectfully take our turns, express our views on the item, and we can move on. So I do want to see if we can find a way to address that issue. And again, I know they are in some of these documents already, but I think we should pull those out and make sure that becomes part of the code. And as was mentioned earlier, the clarity of the vote, now that we're talking about Rosenberg, if you're silent, that's actually a no vote compared to Robert's rule. I think it's more helpful for all of us to state our vote clearly so the public hears it clearly. And I know sometimes we got comfortable with understanding the old rules, but I think for the public side of it, we should be doing it in those terms. Go ahead, Mr. Resendez.
I just wanted to let you know, I'm not sure if you noticed this or not, but it looks like we lost Councilmember Spencer about a minute ago. So if she might be having some connection issues, like you had mentioned, maybe staff can follow up with her. I'd hate for her to.
Let's hold for a couple minutes and see if she gets back on. And these are exactly what happens. It might have been something that gets shut off. And I'm going to recommend to her that I shut her video down, and that would probably save her feed.
Mayor Velasquez, may I say to Councilmember Perez that I was just in a discussion this morning. It was an International Institute of Municipal Clerks. So I had clerks from all over the world. And we are all in the same boat. It's amazing. No matter where you are in the world, we're all going through the same thing. But bandwidth and losing video feed is one of the problems we have everywhere. It's happening all over the world. So a lot of them do choose to just have a picture as you do, no video as Roland has done, a picture as Chief Reynoso has done, especially if you have other members in your household that are also using internet and bandwidth. Just wanted to put that out there for Councilmember Perez.
Yeah, it really did make a difference for me. Again, early on when I first started this, and I was having my voice was breaking up in it, and it wasn't coming clear. And then when I started to drop, that's when somebody recommended doing that. And sure enough, it made a big difference, and I haven't had the problem since.
She's connected, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry?
She is reconnected, Mr. Mayor.
She's reconnected. Ms. Spencer, are you back on?
Yeah, there's something wrong with my internet. It's not working very good, so I don't know how long I'll have a connection.
We were just talking about that. If you put shut your video off, and that's going to be helpful. That's kind of the conversation we were having earlier. That definitely helps with the bandwidth.
Well, I have top of the line internet, and I'm the only one in this house on the internet. So it's not because there's a bunch of people on the internet. It's because my internet service is not happening very well right now. Because I barely have internet connection with. I don't even have it on my phone.
So
Councilmember Spencer, just remember that even though we're Zooming, I don't know how many other people might be Zooming right now using that same internet somewhere else through their own feed. So It's very
Yeah,
well.
no, I tried. I turned off the video and everything. It still wouldn't connect. I could only do it by dialing in, but I'm back.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Councilmember Perez.
So I think we're getting lost on the issue that I was talking about. I'm talking about transparency, not internet connection. And I understand what you guys are saying. And I also understand that transparency is a bigger picture than that. If the world or kids on Zoom or in class, whatever, the whole world has to go through to get through these processes, why shouldn't we tackle those head on also? I appreciate the information, but to me, this is not just about internet connection. You know what, sometimes we got to put up with things, and so that's what we have to do. That's my thing was all about transparency. And I think from the past of where this council was before and where we're trying to get to, transparency is huge. That's all I was trying to say.
No problem. Thank you. So we shared different ideas. Councilmember Burns brought forward the idea of the ad hoc for this, and also the idea, I think Vice Mayor Resendez talked about, we can keep working together. There are a lot of pieces here still to go. I do agree actually with Councilmember Burns, because I can see all these little pieces we need to work together to kind of place the document, working with the city clerk on this. How would you all feel about having a ad hoc committee to keep working on these rules? Is that something that you agree on, or do you think we should all have several more meetings to kind of bring out the items that we're each thinking about and creating a document together? It's all up to you guys.
I have an idea.
Go ahead.
I was thinking if we are all in agreement to work with one document and have that be the Hollister Municipal Code, would you be agreeable, would all of you be agreeable to looking at our current Hollister Municipal Code, taking any sections from these other documents and highlighting them, giving them to me, and I could incorporate them all into one document, and then that would be the document we would review? Would you be agreeable to that?
I'm fine with that direction also.
Yeah, I like streamlining it through the staff and having these discussions in public. I'm more comfortable with that, to be honest, rather than an ad hoc.
Okay. How do the rest of you feel? Go ahead, Mr. Burns.
Thank you, Mayor. I absolutely support the city clerk's recommendation, and I understand Mr. Resendez's feelings, and I align with those as well as yours. The other thing I just want to make a point of, I guess, is that I don't want to rush through this to simply have it done. I think it would behoove us to just get regular progress reports from the city clerk. I don't want her to feel pressured to be done with this, rather take our time to get it done. And I also want to make sure, at least my thoughts are, that this isn't only something that would represent us as council members, but I would feel that certainly all the commissions and committees would also be relegated, or I'm sorry, relegated is not the right, regulated by these documents as well, and held accountable and held to the same degree of transparency. And those are my thoughts, Mayor. Thank you.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. That's very important to get to the commissions with the same set of rules. Any other comments? How?
Mayor, this is.
Go ahead, sir.
I want to appreciate Councilmember Burns's comments about, yeah, please allow the city clerk to have some time to work on this document. And we do have other agendas, meetings and special meetings throughout the month. So do appreciate his thoughts for the city clerk to be able to have some time to do it correctly.
Okay, how would you all feel, at least to get the information we believe is useful to the city clerk, maybe the next week, and get so she can have several weeks to work on them, so we're not rushing her, but at least we're doing our part to get her the information.
I could perhaps also do an update and my G3 reports on it as well, or even make it an agenda item just to let you know what the status is so that it's not forgotten.
But would it be helpful to set a timeline to get you our information, our ideas, or areas that we believe should be incorporated by maybe next Friday? Would that be all right with the rest of you?
That's fine with me, sir.
And then that'll give her several weeks to work on it and bring it back and show us where we're at. We can have another special meeting, or we can have a discussion at the, not the next meeting, but maybe the meeting after. Councilmember Perez?
Yeah, one other thing I wanted to throw out there is sometimes I feel like we're being rushed right through this. It's like, just right now, you reminded me that, you asked if everyone was okay with it, and one person responded, and everyone else didn't have a chance to respond, and you moved on without it. And I think that would, because I'm new, so it's like I'm trying to chew on everything that's going on, and sometimes the train leaves too quick before I can get on and say something. But thanks for reminding me, though. And I do agree that, you know what, this is like a huge thing for the city clerk to take on by herself, and do it quick. I think it's a great idea. It's nothing that's going to happen real fast, and if it does, the more thought we can put into it, the better off it's going to be in the long run. That's it.
Right. And I thank you. I saw your hand was up, and I appreciate it. It really helps me when I'm speaking with all of you. When I see your hand up, then I know you want to say something, so I can come back to you on that. And did I see your hand raised up too, Mr. Burns? Go ahead.
Yes, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify, by returning documents to the city clerk by next Friday, are you referring to Friday, the 5th of February, or the 12th?
No, the 12th.
Good, thank you.
Friday. Yeah, no, give everybody enough time to really sit down, go through the documents, pick out areas that they like or things they want to add to it. And then that way gives the city clerk much more time to process it all and see if there's matching things that we all had or what's going on.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, Councilmember Spencer, did you have any comments?
Well, I was just wondering, is the public allowed to comment on anything that we're talking about right now?
We're going to open up to public comments after we're done. See if anybody has any comments.
Oh, okay. No, I have to agree though with Councilman Perez. It does seem that a lot of times you'll ask for our input, and one council member says something, and the rest of it, nobody else gets to say anything. And Mr. Councilman Perez is right. It seems that you do rush us through things when you ask for our input, and then one answers, and then you go ahead and go with that comment. So that's all I have to say.
Well, I appreciate that. Just again, so we can say this, I can be clear about this. I'm trying to look at everybody, see if any hands are raised. I'm trying to listen for anyone, not trying to rush through anything. If I see somebody that wants to say something, I will absolutely make sure you have a say in it, because I think that's very important. So I'm not trying to rush through anything, just trying to get through what we're doing here in a way that makes sense to all of us, and that all of us agree we can work together to make something happen here.
If I could just comment on that too, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I'm Councilmember
Yes.
Spencer and Vice Mayor Resendez. You guys are on screens right now. So even if he were to look, there's no way he could tell that you wanted to speak or make a comment. So you could always verbally, while we're virtually Zooming, perhaps say something, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, or may I speak, or something, because it is hard to know. I don't think you guys have the raise hand option, do you?
They should.
Do you have the raise hand option?
It should be more. Look where it says more.
If I can be recognized to speak, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine, for pointing that out. Yes, we do have the raised hand option. I'm not trying to be difficult. I like that the meeting goes quickly. and I want to be responsive. So I try to follow the rules of decorum and to answer promptly. And that's my reason for doing that. And then second of all, I would just, I would like for people to remember that these meetings were based off of teleconferencing rules as far as like the telephone. So if that was the case, I don't necessarily think that we have to be on video either. So that's one thing that we need to keep in mind, is that we're all in a very unique situation / circumstances. Everybody doesn't probably even have internet. I know some of my students don't. We might have to call in if there's internet problems. We've got kids and pets. So I understand that we've got to be safe more than anything, communicate effectively, and just remember just the rules of decorum. So I would advise everybody to go back and read the rules, understand them clearly, and then let's follow them. And we can start that by just waiting to be recognized to speak. Thank you.
So on that, let's try a couple things here, because again, it's important to recognize everyone. There's different ways to do this on Zoom. One is verbally asked to be recognized, and that's obviously the easiest way to do that. The next, as I've said before, if you raise your hand, I can see your hand pretty clearly, but I do want to see if we can all hit this raise hand. And I can see how that, perfect. Okay, thank you. on the Zoom part, the raise hand, if we can all try to do that, hit that little button on there so we can make sure we're all familiar and I can actually see it. Mr. Perez, if you can hit that raise hand on the Zoom, perfect, excellent.
I'll always be on video. I want to be transparent.
No, that's fine. But if you hit the raise hand, I just want to see how that looks. And you are being transparent whether you're on video or not. Just clear. And Mr. Burns, if you could hit your raise hand button on there too, so I can see that.
Mayor, I'm struggling trying to find it. I'll
It's
continue.
on the bottom. It should be on the bottom of the screen, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it on mine.
Where it says more.
I don't have that word. I have
Three buttons.
stop. I have mute, stop video, participants, share
Like,
screen, record.
Widen your screen. Do you have a white screen on? You know how to make your page.
I do, and I'm not seeing it.
Councilmember Resendez, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, and everyone, this is Paul Silva. It could be because Mr. Burns connected via the registration link, and then I promoted him to panelist. He was having trouble with the panelist link, so
Okay.
that could be the reason.
Okay, perfect. Well, we do have three options here. If you do have the raise hand function, you could use that. You can raise your hand. Obviously, I can see it on screen, or you could just request to be recognized. All three work. Just wanted, so we all have those options and we're clear about them.
And Councilmember Spencer, I think if you're on by phone, if you hit *9, that will raise your hand.
I think
Strict 9.
if you're on the phone, I would rather just request to be recognized. And again, we can go through this in a way that works for all of us. All right. Is there any other questions or comments from any of the council members?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Burns? You're on mute, sir.
No, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Perez?
I can't think of any now. If I do have anything, we can just be able to submit it through Christine, and she can add it to the list.
Okay, no problem. Ms. Spencer
No,
and Mr. Resendez?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, city manager?
Got them more on for myself.
Okay, so at this time, I think we all agreed that we'll work to get the city clerk the information by the following Friday, not this Friday, but the following Friday. That will give her time to process the information. She will give us updates when she's ready for the next step. And then we can either discuss it at the regular meeting, or we can choose to have another special meeting to go through it. Does that work for all of you?
Works for me.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. This time we'll go to the public. Is there any speaker cards?
Yes, Mr. Mayor? I have Elia Salinas. Elia, please go ahead.
Hi, I think I unmuted myself. Can you hear me, Christine?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do I only have 3 minutes, and I'm going to have to be really quick? I want to say that I agree with regards to what Councilman Perez is saying, because I keep bringing it up, and I've been bringing it up all last year. And it's about showing your face, and it is part of the in the ethics is that the elected official must show his face so that the constituent can see that you're paying attention. So that's what I've been trying to say all along, because you could be cooking right now, or you could be, playing cards with somebody and just chatting back and forth with what's going on. I'm not saying that what's happening. Thank you, Paul. I can see how much time I have. Okay. So I think that's really important. And then you mentioned something about that the vice mayor about being on COG, that the vice mayor should be involved. I don't know specifically, is that what you're trying to say, that COG goes to the mayor and the vice mayor? Because I thought it was those people that are put on committees goes by, you're supposed to go by like a rotation, and not just have the same person. And I know you've been picking yourself for COG and LAFCO forever. So how does that work? And is that going to be part of your policies? Also, with regards to the, if you're wanting to say that it's going to be part of the policy for all the actions to be heard at a city council meeting, does that mean that the applicant, instead of going to you and having a cup of coffee and discussing what they want a vote on, are you going to give them more time, or are they going to be limited to the 3 minutes, or are they going to be allowed to have more time like they do in a presentation? And I know that people reach out to you guys all the time because they want something, and there were times when people reached out to you. Thank you, Paul. There were times when people reached out to you, and you just didn't meet with them. So I mean, they're trying to meet with you. They're trying to set a specified time, whether it's an hour, of your time or whatever. So I think it would really limit the fact that they would not be able to represent their project appropriately if they were going to be limited to a really small period of time. And if we're going to be doing that, then that means that you're going to have really super long meetings if it's all going to be at one time. Gosh, there's so many things here. With regards to, is there a way that you guys can, I know that SB 992 is really important right now, and that's the big thing. Is there a way that it can be incorporated as part of the municipal code? I know that it's going to be a state, but it's something so that the local council members from here on should be very familiar with SB 992. And I'm running out of time unless you can give me more time on these, or I can come back another time.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
Carol Lenore.
Hi there. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I listened to the meeting. I'm really happy to see you're on this topic. I know that Councilwoman Spencer was waiting for a while for this to get done, so I'm sure she's very pleased to see it move forward. I do want to respectfully request, as you start about talking on this on ad hoc, that you try to maintain the city council norm number 4, 5, and 13. I would like to see those cross over into your draft document you're going to prepare. I too agree that I think you need to have more time to speak as an applicant. They have important things to tell us, and I think sometimes 3 minutes is not justified, not a good thing for them to have to cram it all in. So for applicants only, I would think they would get at least 5 minutes. I think your comment, Mayor, respectfully, about not meeting with folks, you got to be careful there. We are at the discretion and at the availability of the public. It doesn't say don't make yourself available to lobbyists. It says you're available to the public. If you do your job right and somebody requests for a meeting, then you try to meet that meeting. You can't pick and choose. You're either not going to meet with anybody or you're going to meet with everybody. And I suggest you meet with everybody. And of course, those meetings should always be reported. And then I think moving on, I did like your comment on COG. Maybe give a nice little switch up for next year. You can avoid some unpleasantry by abiding the majority's direction. That was something that I noticed while I was on there. And again, don't bash other council members. You don't agree with their vote. It's just best not to say anything. You're supposed to do it and the majority rules and you move on. To don't keep rehashing that you didn't like something. So I'd really like to see that stop. And then of course, Vice Mayor Resendez touched the other night on city's Facebook. I've never been a fan of that. I wish it would all stop, but that's not going to happen. I look forward to your draft document to be able to comment further, but I'm really happy that you're all talking about it. And I look forward to being part of the process on this particular issue. And I know we're in capable hands with the city clerk's office. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Courtney Evans? Give us just 1 second. Okay, Courtney, please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
First and foremost, I would like to thank Mr. Burns for having this special meeting. I have asked the mayor and the previous council members to have this discussion for the past 3 years. So it's great to have this discussion up. It is a Browns Act violation to not let the public know where you are if you are not in the chambers. And so we deserve to get to see where you are. How do we know that Roland and the mayor are not in the same house? So knowing where you are during the meetings is part of our rights. I think that it's really important that we get to see your face. And especially since the city council meetings are at night at 6:30 p.m., I don't think anybody's in school at that time. I think that it was inappropriate for the mayor to mention anything about people's public comment. We have the right to have 3 minutes to speak. And if we decide to discuss behavior of a particular council member, that is our right. I would also like to put into the discussion how there are people on this council, and sorry, Mayor, I'm going to talk specifically to you, that you deny and block people.
This is the whole point.
People from Facebook to comment. Please don't interrupt me. I have 3 minutes.
I know. Hang on a second. We're not going to go. This is the whole point of why we're working towards this.
You have made it to where people cannot comment on your posts if you disagree with them. That is also against the law. That violates people's First Amendment rights. So I would like that to be part of the discussion as well, that if you are on social media, everyone gets to comment. You cannot block people's comment. The clerk's office, I think, does an excellent job, but I can't help but comment that we aren't allowed to come into the chambers, but both of you are allowed to sit there without your masks on next to each other. So I think that maybe we should just go back to where we can just be free Americans and open those doors and let people come in. We need to know where you are. We need to know where you're at during these meetings, and quit blocking people on Facebook from commenting when you don't agree with them. And again, I thank you for these. Oh, and I think that there also should be a process for people to complain against a city council member, and that we can have a record of people's complaints so that we can see, what people have said. So when it comes time to vote again, that we have that information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have no more speakers, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments from council before we adjourn for today? Councilmember Resendez?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Burns?
No, sir. Thank you.
Councilmember Perez?
No, I'm fine.
Councilmember Spencer?
Okay, the only thing I'm gonna say is that, and this is the biggest problem we've ever had in the 2 years that I've been on this council. You keep saying that is against the law for you or any of us to comment during public comment, but when somebody's commenting, whether she's talking to you or they're talking to me or whatever, you always interrupt them. They have 3 minutes and you kept talking over Mrs. Evans. I think that is wrong. You want to follow the rules, Mayor. You need to follow them too. Just like we've said, that is the time for the public to express their concerns about each and every one of us. I did not shut off the man that came to my house with a tumbleweed. But every time somebody says something negative about you or Vice Mayor Resendez, you two always interrupt, you call names. It's all been documented. This is something that needs to stop too. Just like Carol Lenore said, I've been asking for this for 2 years. We're finally doing it, and I'm glad. I'm glad that we are all finally getting on the same page. But that means for you too, Mayor, and everybody else, you can't have double standards. Certain rules for some and certain rules for others. And that's something I'm going to be championing for the rest of my time on this council.
Are you done?
Yes, I am. I think
you.
my hands are down.
No, it's up. Thank you. So this is one of the items we just talked about. And this again is one of the issues where members of the public start spreading information that's quite frankly just false. And it should never be tolerated any longer. This is why these things happened in the past. There's just attacks of people that believe something that most of the time is not true. And we shouldn't be dealing with that as a city council. We should be taking care of city business, not as a format for campaigns to be ran for or against other members of the city council. And it's not fair to any member to have this happening, consistent whether it's you, me, or one of the other council members. We need to be conducting business that's factual, and that's why it's important that if we're going to be having council meetings, we need to be having that in open, public, where we're hearing together what's going on, what developers might want or somebody else. What we shouldn't be hearing is accusations that, quite frankly, can be false. And most of the time, as I said, have been false. This is what we've seen across our country. And this is why we've had some problems across our country. We shouldn't be doing this any longer. This is not a place to spread rumors, accusations, or different things. Let's just move to a new standard now where we can conduct business as a community in a respectful, honest way and get some business done. And I think we can do that. So I'm looking forward to these changes in the rules and cleaning them up. And we're gonna keep proceeding as we discussed tonight, share more information and get to the next step. So with that, is there a motion? Is there a comment? Is there a comment from anyone else? I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Spencer.
Yes, I do have my hand raised. I'm glad you said that, Mayor, because, you know, you're right. False accusations can really hurt people. So I'm going to take this opportunity right now, and I'm going to ask you to apologize to me for your false accusation on January 20th of 2020, when you accused me of being involved in a hate crime against Councilman Resendez. You had no evidence. The DA even said I was not a person of interest. My name never even came up. But you, not only did you go out on KSBW News and Bonita Link and on Facebook and say those things about me that were not true. The only reason I'm bringing it up now is because I said I put something out for New Year's Eve to bring this community together, and a constituent reminded me that I was involved in a hate crime against Councilman Resendez, and you and Councilman Resendez know that I had nothing to do with that. So I'm asking you right now, publicly, to say that that was false information and apologize to me.
Councilmember Spencer,
can you do that?
We're not going to go back and rehash all the negativity and the hate from the years before. This is why we're actually having this meeting, to put an end to that. This should not be happening any longer. We should not be going back, having these discussions of what was false, what was true. The point here tonight is to set standards that we can all agree upon and we can all follow together as one council so we can get business done here. We should not ever have to go through this again. And we should never allow those to come in and, again, throw out false accusations just because it suits them for the evening. So hopefully we can agree on that as a council as we work on these rules. And if these things happen, we can put a stop to it instantly if it ever happens again. And I have complete confidence in this new council that we will be able to accomplish that. So thank you very much. With that, is there a motion to adjourn tonight?
I make a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.